Hello everyone, it's been a while since I've done one of these, and I promise I'll get back to putting things on the old TV. But it's time to once again talk about all of the ways that I've wasted money over the course of the last few months trying to fill the hole in my soul. And because I recently had my birthday, we're also going to see some of the items that other people wasted money on trying to fill my hole. So we're going to start first with movies, because I only really picked up one disc, two movies this go round. Although I did pick up another, it's an episode of a TV show, but we'll talk about that later since it ties into something else. I picked up this William Castle double feature Blu-ray. So if you don't know who William Castle was, he was a producer in the 1950s and 1960s. He was known for his stunts. So for example, in this movie, Mr. Sardonicus, he had a scene where the audience was supposed to vote on the fate of a character. He also, of course, did House on Haunted Hill, where a skeleton would move throughout the theater or move across the screen during showing. And then there was The Tingler, wherein each seat was wired up with a vibrator. Not that kind. It was a small device that would buzz and make you feel like the Tingler was moving across your lower back or about to get you. So it's an interesting point in film history, and so I got this for $3. I got this for $3 at a place called Entertain Mart in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Entertain Mart is really interesting because it's basically a Hastings that went private after Hastings collapsed. And so it's great. There's tons of physical media there still. Video games, books, comics. If you're ever in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, be sure to check them out because they still sell things like this. And I was happy to get this because I'm a big fan of film history. I'm a big fan of especially these 50s and 60s horror films. And so this was an amazing thing to get. Moving on to comics. Also at Entertain Mart, I picked up this. Darkwing Duck, Foul Play. I am a huge Darkwing Duck fan. I loved this show as a kid. It was actually probably the first superhero I got into. And I even met Jim Cummings once. I had him sign a Darkwing Duck action figure. This was a huge show for me growing up. And so to pick up a Darkwing Duck comic was great. It's not new. This has been out for a while, but I saw it there and I couldn't resist. I had to get it because I love Darkwing and I love this character and I'm so happy that he's still out there in some form. I know that they are planning on doing sort of a spin-off of DuckTales. This is my Darkwing. This is Jim Cummings. This is the Darkwing that I know and love. Also on comics, I picked up Danny Ketch, Ghost Rider, the Omnibus. This was something that I was looking forward to. It was announced a while back. So for me, one of the things that you have to realize is I grew up in a small town, rural Idaho. We didn't have a lot of comics. They would occasionally crop up in local grocery stores, and that was it. But I was super into superheroes. I was watching Batman the Animated Series, Spider-Man the Animated Series, of course X-Men, and I loved it all. And so I would try and get my hands on whatever comics I could. And at one point, late 90s, early 2000s, I begged my mom to buy me some comic books. I didn't even specify. I just said, I want some comic books. And she bought just a lot off of eBay. And amongst them was a Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. And so this was my image of Ghost Rider. This is what I thought Ghost Rider was. I didn't know about Johnny Blaze until much later. Danny Ketch was my Ghost Rider. And so I had that one comic, and it kind of created this fascination within me. And so years later, I'm finally going to be able to kind of read the entire story. And so look how good these images look. Look at Spider-Man, look at Ghost Rider here. This was, the 90s was kind of a comic crash, but this art is gorgeous. I absolutely love it. And so when this was announced, I was like, I am going to buy that. And so I did. I bought it, and I am happy to have it. So that is my Danny Ketch Ghost Rider Omnibus. Moving on to toys. Yes, I am a man-child, and I buy toys. So a good friend of mine got me this. You might recognize this as the Matthew Broderick Inspector Gadget, and in fact, two of the Happy Meal bags that the toy came in. So there were a lot of us out there, I think people of a certain age remember this, because you would collect the pieces, of course, this being the body, this is part one. This would be, what you would want to get first because it's his head and it's his chest, and you were going to build Inspector Gadget. Now again, small rural town. The nearest McDonald's was 50 miles away, so there was no way I could have ever completed this toy. I got like a leg, and I think I did have this part. And I remember being at McDonald's once. There was a little girl there. Little girl who had completed Inspector Gadget. And I was so jealous. And it's like my one memory from this campaign was I'm being there, I'm getting a leg, and she has the whole thing sitting on her table, and I'm like so jealous of it. So a good friend of mine got me these for my birthday. Now you're probably thinking, hey, that's kind of a sucky gift. It's a paper bag and a part of a toy. Oh, no. The entire Inspector Gadget is here, all still in the original McDonald's wrap. And so, 20 years later or more, I'm finally completing my It has to be more than 20 years. Good Lord, I'm old. But yes, I am finally in possession of the complete Inspector Gadget. And because of my nerddom and my broken brain, he will not be assembled because I am going to leave him in all of the plastic wrap because, you want to leave it as mint as it can be. So yes, that is a complete Inspector Gadget. And it's just neat to me to also have, the bags, because how many people kept Happy Meal bags? And right there you're seeing not Dr. Claw. This is not the guy. I mean, that was such a disappointment. Nothing against the actor, Rupert Everett. Nothing against Rupert Everett, but good Lord, having him be Dr. Claw was just a mistake. And of course, there is a bad drawing of Matthew Broderick as Inspector Gadget. I wonder what the rocket could say. Who launched the rocket? It's Claw. It's Dr. Claw. And yeah, that's just another one of those childhood memories that I have floating around in my head. And now I finally own the complete Inspector Gadget. Also on toys, I picked up this Lara Croft. I am really kind of interested in these video game superstars action figures that were put out by Toy Biz, because as a kid I remember seeing the Resident Evil ones, and I didn't get one as a kid. I desperately wanted one. My mom said we would go back for it. We didn't go back for it because we were on vacation, and again, small town, and with small town, there are no toy stores. We occasionally got toys at a place called The Bazaar, which was like a discount store, and they still had like Ninja Turtles in them well into the late 90s, early 2000s. But I saw this at a KB Toys. Not this, I saw the Resident Evil figures at a KB Toys in the early 2000s, late 90s, can't even remember. And I desperately wanted the Resident Evil figure. And now I picked this up at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. I didn't know that they made a Tomb Raider version of it. My brother had a massive crush on Lara Croft, and so I'm shocked we didn't have this at the day. She doesn't look her best. We'll get a good shot of Laura there, kind of going through some stuff. But yeah, again, it was mind-blowing to me when I saw the Resident Evil ones, because like, oh my god, they're making toys based off of video games? Are you kidding me? And it's neat to show. This one was from... can't even see it. This one was from KB Toys, if you can see the sticker. I am leaving that sticker on there. Apparently, a friend of mine, Adam Korlick, told me there's a term for that. I'm a dirty collector. I'm a dirty collector because I like to keep the stickers on because I think they're a bit of history. I actually like buying game cartridges that say like Steven or whatever, somebody wrote their name on it, because I think it's really neat to the history of the game. Speaking of video games, it is time to move on to video games. So, as I mentioned previously, I was at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. Some of these are from there, some of these are gifts, some of these are things that I bought after the expo. So, one of the first things I got there was this, Mortal Kombat 2 for the Game Boy. I am not a big Game Boy person, I never have been, but I kind of have this idea that I want to get a copy of like every Mortal Kombat game in some capacity. So I'm slowly working towards that. It's not really a big plan. but I didn't have this for Game Boy, so I picked it up. Nor did I have this. I didn't have Mortal Kombat 4 for N64 because this is like the worst way to play this game. Mortal Kombat 4 is not one of my favorites. It fell kind of in a weird in-between period. So as a kid, I remember playing Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 at a local pizza place. I loved it. And then I didn't think about Mortal Kombat for years until about the time that Deception was coming out. So I got really into Deadly Alliance and Deception. Completely bypassed Mortal Kombat 4. And so it's a weird place for me because, hey, somebody put end labels on these. It's a weird game for me because I just didn't really have a big connection for it. Best way to play this game is on Dreamcast, Mortal Kombat Gold. But yeah, this is not how I would be playing this game. So this is just one for me to keep around. And moving on, this was a gift from a friend of mine for my birthday. So I hadn't played Link's Awakening because, again, I was not a big Game Boy guy. Excuse me. I was not a big Game Boy guy, and so I wanted to play Link's Awakening, and she got it for me. Again, I had thought about it for years, and I thought, oh, I should play that remake, and it was a gift. She had been playing it. She talked a lot about it, and I was interested in it, and she got me that for my birthday. Now, her birthday was not long after mine, and I, of course, got her a gift, and because we are, I guess, challenging each other, she had to get me another gift for my birthday when it was her birthday, and now I had to go get her another. I actually finally did get her another gift later after I gave her a previous gift. I got her a cameo from Bear in the Big Blue House because she loves that. But the other gift that she gave me, again, for my birthday after I'd given her gifts for her birthday, was Echoes of Wisdom, which she is playing right now. I have not started Echoes of Wisdom because my brain will not allow me to start this. Even though they're unrelated, I need to finish this, and I'm still in the process of playing this right now. I need to finish Link's Awakening before I can do Echoes of Wisdom. Even though they're unrelated, I need to kind of finish the spiritual start of this style of Zelda game before I move on to this one. I am really intrigued by this one because I like the puzzle solving on it from what I've seen. I'm really interested in working out those puzzles. Again, I love puzzle solving. I find the games that are interesting. I am also really appreciative that Nintendo is doing this. So even though I was not a big handheld guy, I always knew that Nintendo was kind of keeping a different style of Zelda and Mario alive on their handhelds. And so this is really interesting to me because we know that they can make Breath of the Wild. We know that they can make Tears of the Kingdom. But they're making these, which are less technically impressive, but nonetheless are great experiences that are akin to those that you would have had on the Game Boy, GBA, DS, while they're still making things like Tears of the Kingdom. And so I love that they're doing that. I think it's great. I love that this sort of creativity is still out there, that there are people that can enjoy this, even if they don't like Tears of the Kingdom. There are people who may not be into this, but they still have the mainline Zelda titles. I love that that is still being kept alive at Nintendo, so I'm very grateful for that. Moving on to a game that I bought myself, the Silent Hill 2 remake. I have not started this. Spoiler alert, as we get to Halloween, this game will probably be seen on one of the old TVs. But I love the original Silent Hill 2. I had to pick this up. And so, yeah, I not a lot to say about it. I'm a huge Silent Hill fan. From what I've heard, this is a pretty good remake. I was not... a lot of people were negative about Bloober Team making this. I was not. I've actually liked a lot of what they've put out. I know it's not to everyone's liking, but, I am very happy that this game has been well received, and I am excited to start it. And so, Silent Hill 2, what is it to say? One of the greatest horror games ever made. It's a remake of it. Nothing will top the original, just as I love the Resident Evil 2 remake. I still like the original more. Just because of nostalgia, and so I am excited to start this and have that experience again. Now, things I picked up at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. These are Fairchild Channel F games. I am one of the 5 people on the planet that chooses to collect for Fairchild Channel F. For those who don't know, the Fairchild Channel F was the first video game console that had changeable cartridges. There is the Magnavox Odyssey, which did not have cartridges. The games weren't on there. They were basically tools to jump the board to create different games. These are actual video games that you put in your Fairchild Channel F to play different games. And so I picked up Video Pack 10 and 4, or Video Cart 4 and Video Cart 10, Video Pack's Magnavox Odyssey 2 titles. But I'm slowly going for a complete set of these. My buddy Sunshine is kind of pressing me to do that. I'll show you really quick what these games look like if you've never seen one before. Hopefully I won't ruin these boxes. But it's really interesting. These are what Fairchild Channel F games look like. And they actually have this little springed opening here. So when you put it in, that goes down and it protects the end of the cartridge. Something that a lot of other games did not do. But those are Fairchild Channel F games, because I am one of the few people who actually goes out and buys these. In fact, when I was buying these, I found these at a small stall at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. And I was happy to see them. I picked them up. And I went to a booth that I had bought Fairchild games at previously in 2023. And I didn't see any. And I knew there were more there because there were ones that I didn't buy. And so I went up to the guy and I said, hey, do you have any Fairchild Channel F games? Guy, he didn't laugh at me. He was polite and was like, hey, buddy, nobody really collects for those. And I think he recognized me because he said, like, aren't you the one who bought all of them last year? And I was like, well, I didn't buy all of them. And he just kind of said, I'm sorry, we don't have any of them with us today. So, again, happy to have those. Someday, I hope to have a complete set. But moving on to that, something I am very close to having a somewhat complete set of are these. So remember how I said I was one of 4 people who cared about the Fairchild Channel F? I'm one of 2 people who probably care about the Nuon. So the Nuon, if you don't know, was kind of an inverted PlayStation 2. The idea of VM Labs was that they were going to put a video game console inside a DVD player instead of putting a DVD player inside of a video game console. And so these are 2 games for the Nuon. I think there were only about 8 made. Songbird Productions has done reproductions of several games. They've done Freefall 2050, I think it is, as well as Iron Soldier 3 and a few other titles that I can't remember. I have bought their reproductions. These are actually original. These are new old stock, still sealed, of Merlin Racing and Space Invaders XL. And so I was very lucky because I was at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo kind of early. Adam Koralik, again, YouTuber, he had an exhibitor badge. He gave me an extra exhibitor badge. So I was on the floor before anybody else. He told me that these were there. He actually put these in his Discord. Not these exact ones, but he showed images of it. I sprinted down to the convention center and went in because I had an exhibitor badge. I got to get in early and I bought these. And in fact, all of these sold. The Merlin Racings and Space Invaders XL sold, I think, before the convention even opened. So I'm happy to have those. They're just kind of my weird little quirky games. I probably will never open them, but I'm glad to have them. And moving on, something else that was a big deal. So they had a few people signing autographs at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, including Cam Clark and Paul Eiding. So the voice of Liquid Snake from Metal Gear Solid and the voice of Colonel Campbell from Metal Gear Solid were there. And I embarrassed the hell out of myself in front of both of them. So, because I was there assisting Adam Koralik, as I mentioned in a previous video, I was on a panel. And when you're a panelist, one of the things they do is they give you water bottles. Yes, I got this neat little nifty water bottle. And so this does tie into this, because when I went to go meet Mr. Eiding, he was the first one that I met, these water bottles suck because they're held together. They've got this little latch here that keeps it on, and that is not on there very tight. In fact, it's very loose. And if you happen to bump this, that's spring loaded. So I go and I meet Mr. Eiding for this autograph. And I have this sitting down there, and it's on the ground. I don't know that it's worked its way open. I knock it over. I spill water all over the floor everywhere. And his poor assistant was helping me clean this up. I felt so bad about it. And so, that's a memory for me. But I will say, Paul Eiding was really, really nice to talk to, because I actually ran. I didn't know he was there. I should have read ahead. And I ran and I found this. This is not one of my original copies. I went and I found this copy of Metal Gear Solid. And it's my favorite game of all time. And I went and I told him that, and he signed it first. And he said, he said, oh, it was one of the good ones. And I think he stopped himself because I think he kind of thought about it a little bit more. And he said, you know what? I think it was one of the great ones. And I told him about how this kind of opened up my world. I had never seen video games like this. I'd certainly never seen video games that were talking about things like Gulf War syndrome when I was a kid. This was such an amazing thing. And he was really warm and inviting, and he even thanked me for saying that. And I think it's nice because, he clearly cared about his work that he put into this. And I was so happy to have that moment with him, despite the fact that I made a fool of myself by spilling water. Now, I haven't talked about Cam Clark yet. So Cam Clark, I brought this up there, but I also brought this. So this, I ran, because I wanted something Turtles related. I really wanted something Turtles related because Cam Clark was Leonardo, and I wanted something Turtles related because this was big for me as a kid. And so I went, this is what I found. I found this copy of this VHS, and I wanted one that had Leo front and center. So this is the Case of the Killer Pizzas. This is actually one that I remember a lot from a kid. Because it's kind of like an Alien knockoff. These are somewhat like xenomorphs, and they're in Turtles in Time in the sewer level. And so I was really, really excited to go meet Cam Clark. And I brought this up there. First thing he says to me is, you're too young for this generation of Turtles. And I said, actually, I turned 31 yesterday, and I had older brothers. I lived in a rural town, and they're the ones that showed me this. And I grew up with you as Leonardo. And so, again, I had this wonderful conversation with him. And water bottle strikes again. I set this damn thing on the ground again. In front of Cam Clark, it leaks again. And so I made an absolute fool of myself into two people who, again, their art I absolutely adored. And the good thing about it is both of them were cool about it. Cam Clark even did the Liquid Snake voice because he jokingly said, if anybody gets hurt, it's on you. And he kind of said, and that's what Liquids would say. And so it was amazing to get them both to sign this. And of course, when I mentioned that I turned 31 yesterday, Cam Clark wished me a happy birthday. And so having Leonardo from the Ninja Turtles tell me happy birthday was kind of a very special moment. And so, yeah, it was a good time. There is one last item that I bought. It's not as emotionally impressive, but in terms of purchases, this was my big purchase. I got this. This is a Victor Saturn. This is a Sega Saturn made by the Victor Corporation, not made by Sega. Licensed by Sega, of course. But the Victor Corporation put out these Saturns that I've kind of wanted one for a while just for aesthetics. It's gray and purple. Purple's my second favorite color. And yes, that is how shallow I am. Also, I wanted to get a Japanese Saturn, and this is the one that I was holding out for. I did kind of want to get the Victor Christmas Saturn, but, you never know when there's going to come up. I did get a controller in the box. Bought them from the same guy, Sega Steve, runs a great booth at PRGE. And so I bought this, and I took it back to the Saturn Lounge at PRGE. Adam Korlick's there, and he said, oh, hey, you bought the Victor Saturn. And there was a sticker up here that said it was recapped and that it had an FRAM mod. And Adam looks at it, and he says, oh, hey, it's got the FRAM mod. And I'm just kind of blinking at him. I don't know what the hell that means. I don't really follow the modding community. And he looks at me and he said, you idiot. That's like the best thing that you can have in this because it replaces the old battery in here and basically lets you save without worrying about that battery dying inside. Because if you've ever played a Sega Saturn, there's a battery located back in here that also powered the clock. And so the battery would be drained by the clock and you wouldn't actually be able to save directly to the console. You'd have to make sure that you had a save card in there. And so I'm standing there basically going, I like it because it's purple. But it was an amazing find. I'm glad to get it. I'm happy to have it. And so, yeah, this is going to be my primary Japanese Saturn for now. And with that is everything I wasted my money on in the last few months. And so if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them down below because what else do I have going for me? So you enjoy the rest of your day and keep eyes on the channel, and hopefully I'll have more out for Halloween on the old television sets.